This video is brought to you by Ionna and OpenVPP. Ionna, the EV charging network brought to you by the world's leading automakers. Ionna is raising the bar on what it means to charge. We're talking a 400 kilowatt charge rate minimum, nationwide network built with the customer in mind. Fast, reliable, affordable, every single time. And OpenVPP, a global virtual power plant for electric vehicles. See vehicles charging across the world and zoom in to see real-time charging status in what aims to be the world's largest vehicle virtual power plant. OpenVPP allows you to track charging history, energy usage, and daily trips, comparing your usage versus others day to day and month to month. With OpenVPP, we're working together to showcase the potential of EV charging to electric grid operators. There may even be future coordinated EV charging rewards coming soon. So sign up today at world.openvpp.energy. It's completely free to join and takes under 60 seconds. Hello and welcome to another Out of Spec Reviews video. You join me with the Lucid Gravity, and we're going to tow with it today. The Lucid Gravity Grand Touring can tow up to 6,000 pounds. So many people think you can't tow with an electric vehicle, but I tow with EVs literally every day, and I want to see if the Lucid Gravity can handle towing a 6,000 pound trailer with ease. I'm really curious, not so much about the range and efficiency, although I'll touch on those topics in this video, because that's largely dependent on the trailer that you're pulling. I'm curious to see how the vehicle handles the weight and what the towing setup is like and what the software features are to help you with towing as you go down the road. Should be kind of fun. I haven't seen much information about towing on the Gravity out there. I don't think very many people do it, but since I tow with my Rivians and other electric vehicles all the time, I figured, well, let's give this one a fair shot. This is my 6,000 pound trailer, and well, if you read all the stories about how little range you can get while towing, good news. This is a mobile DC fast charger, so we don't have to worry about range when towing. That is until this is out of battery, of course. Anyway, the Lucid Gravity Grand Touring that we have has a maximum tow rating of 6,000 pounds and a maximum tongue weight, which is typically 10% in the industry, and it is the case here, of a 600 pound maximum tongue weight. This has a 550 pound tongue weight. Yes, I'm a nerd, I've measured, and this is a 6,000 pound trailer. So it's almost perfectly balanced, and it totally maxes out the Lucid Gravity's weight carrying capacity. So what I'm going to do is unhitch it from my Rivian R1S. This trailer and my R1S are almost exclusively connected since I use my ChargeRig's mobile DC fast charger for all of our range tests and run to zero tests and random DC fast charging needs around the out of spec track. These two are linked almost all the time. I figured this is the perfect weight to max out what the Gravity can tow. Friends, we now have the Lucid Gravity Grand Touring up on the lift. I'm first going to install the trailer hitch apparatus, I guess is the best way to explain that. Then I'll walk through the software features and recommendations from Lucid on, for example, this limits top speed and does some other really cool things with trailer brake controllers. And then we'll hook it up to the ChargeRig's trailer and just go for a drive. Now you'll notice the brake lights are on the Gravity right now. No one is inside of it. All Lucids do this. Lucids are the only cars on the market that do this. But when you leave them preconditioning, for example, I'm warming up the battery with the manual preconditioning function, it, even though the car's in park, keeps the brake lights on. And they say they do this because it activates the motors to create waste heat and it could provide a little bit of forward propulsion. I don't know, I just think it's weird that the brake lights are on every time I try to warm up the battery. For the test today, of course, the car sat outside overnight. We're not doing any real efficiency calculations. That's mostly determined on the trailer, actually, rather than the car, but we'll run some math towards the end of this video. I just wanted to have a warm battery. We'll then charge it off the ChargeRig's trailer, then head out for a drive. But first, let's install the trailer hitch receiver. All right, viewers, I pulled this out of the back of the Lucid Gravity. This car was sent to us by Lucid, so a huge shout out to them for letting us play around with this thing for many thousands of miles. We'll have plenty of videos, especially road trip videos on this car. Now, I think their solution is pretty similar to Tesla if any of you are coming from a Model X and moving to the Gravity. Yeah, this looks almost identical. Well, they're always so greasy. That's why I put gloves on. Just be so careful about this part right here. Yeah, it looks like this one's never been used before. This car's never been towed with. I can't imagine many owners have towed with their Gravities, but I hope there are some out there. So let me pull this cover off with a flathead screwdriver. I've got a little wrench situation right here. There's 3 of these little covers. They get rotated 90 degrees to the left. These little covers do not unscrew from this panel. They are married to this thing, basically. So you try to unseat them best you can, and then you pull down on the paddle, and it flies off. So be maybe a bit more gentle than I was. That actually came off way easier than expected. Yeah, it just comes straight back. So when you're trying to re-interface this, because we probably won't show that in the video, you just get it lined up, get the pins down out of the way, push it forwards, and then boom, 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 90 degrees to the right, and you're good to go. Let's see if I can pull it off this time. Yeah, man, it does want to fly out on you. There's not much to grab with this cover. So now that we can see underneath the car, let me see if I can get you a better close-up angle on what's going on under here. So we have our standard 7-pin connector right there. We've got our chain hooks, which are very small. You really are going to need some small chain hooks, little connection points there. And then you have this little grease connector or sort of protector situation right there. And that is identical to Tesla's solution. I've done a lot of towing with Model X over the years, and this looks to be really an identical solution. And the receiver itself, and we'll do it here in a second, essentially slides into here and then locks into place. And this has got to be the same exact part. It's Lucid Tow Receiver US, but this is the exact same part to the Model X. You know what? I have a new Model X here. Let me go grab that receiver, see if it shipped with one, so I can show you. I just so happen to have a brand new Tesla Model X on test at the same time, and I just pulled this out of the back, and it's the exact same packaging, VCI, PELD. I mean, everything's identical between the two, so they've got to be the identical part, which is interesting because the Model X receiver is like one of the most annoying, sorry for the noise, pull this out. This is one of the most annoying pieces of hardware on the planet. And yeah, the only difference is Tesla has it branded with their weight limits on there. So Lucid branding, I'll show you that in a second. So this says 5,000 pounds max towing with the Tesla one. It looks to be identical. I can show you here, they feel like they're exact same weights. Lucid does not have anything. Oh no, they do. They just branded it Oris on the Lucid one, and it shows 6,000 pounds maximum. And the Tesla one, again, 5,000 pounds. These things are pretty heavy, but they're identical. There is, literally no, seemingly no difference between them. I got to remember which is which. Thankfully, this one has the Tesla badge on it. So that's Lucid. This one back in the Tesla badge. Thought you'd find that interesting. So the way these hitches work is mostly through frustration and infuriation, if that's a word, don't know. So I'm going to open up this cover. I'll take the key. Let me see if I can show you this properly as I come around to the front of the camera. We'll wide view it up. So I've got this little thing. I'm going to insert the key and switch it to the unlock position, which is right there. That allows me to rotate this clockwise to slide up in there. Once it's in position, I'll release. You can hear the pin come out. I can switch it to lock and then pull the key out. That's the theory. I can tell you, it's never gone that smoothly for me. Let's see how it goes. So we're in, roughly. I've got to rotate it up Come on. Okay, so the trick, Sam, because we're now recording, is once it's up there, I'm going to pull this out. Does it want to? Okay. And rotate forwards.
Did it pull out? Nope. Rotate forward and then pull out.
Nope.
Nope.
Pull. Oh, yeah, here we go. Okay. So out and forwards all the way. In we go. So,
there it is.
All right. Got her in there?
It's there.
All right. So that's the trick. And I guess I always read the instructions wrong. So if you're watching this video, pull this outwards, then twist forward. Then it's actually not a bad hitch system.
It went quick.
It went quick and easy, and it's locked in there.
That is good.
All right, so the driving position should be, can we hit it with the mallet real quick, just to make sure she's all locked into place?
Yes.
Okay, nice.
No movement.
So then I can put it in the lock position, pull the key, and we've got our 2-inch receiver in the Gravity. It's just that extra step. So viewers, just to give you a sense of the undercar profile, this really messes it up. And honestly, I gave it a lot of crap for not going in correctly. That's on me. Whenever I use these, once you know to pull the little twisty thing out, it slides right up in there. It's just user error. So let's get to the more important stuff. And because I'm a nerd, I'm going to set the tire pressures to the manufacturer rated 42 PSI when cold, as the air suspension lowers on me. But I've got these little nifty tire pressure fillers built into the lift here. Guys, I just installed my WaySafe 2 5/16 ball right here. This is a great unit. WaySafe actually sent me these to feature in some videos. I use them all the time just for everything. They're freaking awesome because they have a built-in tongue weight scale. So especially for testing, we need to get, you know, tongue weights correct and everything. And this totally is it. The only thing I don't love about this situation is it's a little bit farther away from the center of mass that I would want from the trailer, but I have it literally positioned all the way in. Now in the Lucid manual, they actually recommend not going too far out to the rear, and I'm gonna guess this is a little bit too far. But again, it's what I have on hand. I have some other hitches as well, but this one, it just sticks out far anyway. I use this hitch all the time. It's super high quality, and so I'm gonna go with this. I don't think it should cause too much of an issue just for a quick test, but if you're really gonna be towing 6,000 pounds, which is the maximum that the Gravity can tow a lot, you might wanna just measure this out. I bet we're close to being in spec or maybe slightly out of spec. Now it's time to hook up to the actual trailer. So let's see if there's any cool software in here that we can use for towing. So I'm gonna go to settings. Hello, thank you. Let's see, driving dynamics, tilt mirrors when reversing, so nothing in there. Tires and wheels. There's gotta be some towing modes, right? I would think. Parking features. To manually activate tow mode, go to the pilot panel, car controls, and then tow. So I'm guessing this is the pilot panel. I think. Is there something else called pilot panel? No. Let's just plug it in the trailer and see if anything happens. I heard there was supposed to be a hitch view and all this stuff, and I can see the hitch right there, which is great. Probably don't need any more than that. But I thought there was like a specific hitch view, and it's supposed to adjust for when you have an accessory in there. But for seemingly this car doesn't seem to have any of that cool towing software that I read about. them having. Rear steer helping me line this up. It's actually maybe even a bit aggressive, but there we go. And I think that looks pretty on the money, don't you? Maybe a tiny bit more. Ooh, a little too far, I think. Let's just inch it forward. Some 7-pin connections can actually run the power of this automatic jack. Some can't. My Rivian cannot, which is why I'm using this system. Let me plug in the trailer and actually see if it's powerful enough to use the powered jack here. I just plugged in and you can see the Lucid, literally I haven't touched anything, is doing a little light dance to check the trailer lighting. Now, what's funny is we're fully plugged in and I don't see the lights on the trailer going. We'll look at that in a second, but let's see if this is enough to spin. Oh yeah, powered. So the Rivian can't do this. I think it blows a fuse in the Rivian, but this seems to be able to just fine. Now, I have it on there and I actually think we're looking pretty level. Maybe a tad slight forwards on the trailer, but I think it's okay. This is basically towing with a station wagon rather than a big SUV. This thing is so low to the ground, and tow mode locks you into standard ride height. So yeah, let me get it all hooked up and see what the software is doing now that it definitely recognizes we're in some sort of tow mode. It says Dream Drive limited with trailer. So the car knows we are in a towing situation. As I'm just hooking up the trailer here, guys, check this out. First of all, because this is such a long apparatus, you've got to get way under here, first of all. And you can see this cable is like right on the ground, and that's in there. I need to make sure that we're in standard ride height, but these chains link up to these little tiny little chain points, anchor points, which are, hold on, looking for the wrong angle here, which are right back here. They're way the heck in there, and they're almost inaccessible. They're so tiny, there's no room to get chains up in those things. It's crazy. Folks, I genuinely got it all connected. The chains are genuinely locked in and secured. That was a pain. I had to like finagle them all both up in there, but we got it dialed in. That is a very similar problem to the Model X. They have a similar issue with just too small of chain lockdown points. So I've put little shackles on Model X's when I've towed in the past, which I don't know if it's smart or not, but it's kind of what you got to do. So now that the trailer's all connected, it says if you still need to verify your lights are working, tap check lights to start over. So let's go here. That's pretty nice. So it's going through a lighting sequence automatically. And let's see. Yes, I can see the lights are going on the trailer back here. Very nice. You can see they're blinking along with the car. So that's great. So trailer lights are looking good. We're all hooked up. It's freaking awesome. And we have tow enabled here now. Dream Drive limited with trailer. So finish light check. Light check ended. Light check in progress. I just said finish. Finish light check. Whoa, now we've got a whole trailer menu that has randomly somehow popped up here. This is great. First of all, we want to raise the ride height to standard. So that will also help level out the trailer a little bit and give us a little bit more clearance. So that's wonderful. And you can see we're towing like a Lucid trailer. How sweet is that? Brake gain for this trailer, we're going to start at 5. The brakes are a little bit underpowered in this trailer. And my understanding to activate the brake gain is to actually pull down on the drive stalk while driving, and that's your manual brake for the trailer. Now, most of the time you're just going to use friction brakes. We'll have to see if it blends trailer brakes while driving. But for now, let me just pull away. And you can see it says pull lever down to brake trailer manually. And you can see we have this little progress bar. It's very little contrast, but I don't even think my phone can pick it up. But there's a little progress bar about how much juice it's getting. Oh, but I've got this one down here too. It's basically doing the same thing. So that's cool. Like that solution quite a bit. Let's go into drive, and we're moving. We're towing with a Lucid Gravity for the first time. And I'm going to tow it to about right here. Let's see if the trailer brakes work. Oh yeah, dang, that pulled us down. We might need a little bit less than 5 for this car. Always about matching up the car and the trailer. Oh yeah, that feels just about right. How sweet is this? Towing with the Gravity. I'm going to park it over here. Let's take a look at, make sure we're all leveled and balanced and everything is good and safe. And we are now up in the standard ride height. You can see as I hit the brake pedal, it was blending friction brakes for the trailer. Into park. Let's take a look. Oh, we are looking golden, folks. Lucid sitting up high, trailer sitting nice and level. I'm loving this. This is sitting perfect. It's time to go drive. Time to tow with the Lucid Gravity. So let's set the climate control down to like 72 degrees. Heated seat for sure. We're not going for major efficiency on this first leg. We'll look on the way after. I'll talk to you a lot about towing efficiency. What's interesting is when the car is in tow mode, it actually limits your top speed to 90 miles an hour. So we're not going to test that today. That's over the trailer tire ratings on my charge rigs, but yeah, we're pretty much good to go. It says Dream Drive limited with trailer, so I'm curious to see what the limitations actually are. And yeah, let me just pull this mic off. Don't need it. We're in the car. Time to roll. Let's see. There's no real trailer settings other than what's on the main screen here. I'll leave regen in high. If I take a look at our charging menu, we are pretty good. If I precondition battery, we don't need to. I'm actually going to go to a version 3 Tesla Supercharger location, version 3 Plus, which should be great. I'm interested to see our energy consumption screen here as we continue. I can use rated range, which is saying 88 miles of range, dynamic range, which is showing 27 miles of range. That's based off of our energy usage, and it has no idea the aero profile of the trailer yet, or percentage, which is probably the best way to go here because I don't think any of the mileage estimations will be accurate at the moment. So let me just adjust my screen, and we are off and ready to go with the Charge Rigs trailer behind. Now, the maximum tow rating of the Lucid is 6,000 pounds. That's pretty much exactly what this trailer weighs. Maybe a hair over 6,000 pounds. We'd probably be there if I removed the spare tire cover, but the tongue weight, at least according to WaySafe, is right around 500, 550 pounds. So that is good to know. We're gonna run trip B. We're leaving here. We're going to go to the nearest supercharger station, which is the Oasis charger in Halifax. What I like about that is they have a pull-through trailer spot with native NACS. This Lucid Gravity is native NACS. And what I'm going to be able to do is heat up that rear motor by using the boosting power. We're going to basically run a pretty big charging session, jump right out on the highway, and see if there's any thermal issues while towing. Now, a couple things that I'm going to look for before I get into range and efficiency is just going to be overall stability and visibility. One thing with the Lucid Gravity is these side view mirrors are totally annoying. They take up a lot of space. You can see there's a big plastic surround on them. However, the glass coverage component is so little. I really wish that Lucid put mirrors on this car that are similar to Lucid Assistant, no thanks, that are similar to what's on my Polestar. My Polestar, or many Volvos, they have like an entire glass surface around the rim, and it's awesome. It takes up, you know, every bit of thing that you see is just straight mirror. It's so cool. So as we leave the out-of-spec track right now, I can use my mirrors and see, well, the trailer's pretty skinny. It's about the width of the car, maybe even a little bit less wide than the Gravity. So we're pretty much good there. I'm going to check the trailer brakes. Yep, can feel those coming on. Interestingly, when we tried brake gain 5, when we first loaded up, it pretty much locked the trailer brakes on. Now, yeah, we really need to be running like 7 or 8, which is what I typically run. Let's test the regen here. If I go regen, it doesn't seem to be using any trailer brake, because as I touch the friction brake, that's when I get the trailer brake application coming in. So it does not seem like any sort of brake blending with the trailer to smooth stability when you have regen in high. So it might actually make sense to back regen off, especially if you have a slightly unstable load, because the car is going to be doing a ton of deceleration before you ever get into the trailer brakes to kind of even out your load. So that's something to keep in mind. One really nice thing about the Gravity is this turn signal view. I can easily see the rear wheels of my trailer as I come out here onto the road, and can absolutely tell where that trailer is right behind me, and I'm thrilled that I have that view right there. That is amazing, really great. Yeah, so towing, acceleration feels totally normal at the moment. Honestly, I had no idea there's a trailer behind the car just getting up to speed right here. And if I look in the mirrors, the trailer's just a bit skinnier than the Lucid, so I actually can barely see the trailer at all. Now, I notice it when I look out the rearview mirror, and I can hear a couple of clunks and thuds coming from the back occasionally, very minor, and that's just what you get from like chain slap and some other stuff back there, so that's totally normal as well. Man, I really feel like people do not tow with these types of cars, but, you know, like EV9, Ioniq 9, those types of cars can tow, Model X can tow, EX90, Vistic, that's sort of this car's competitive range, and I don't see why you wouldn't tow with them. I tow with my R1S all the time. I feel like Rivian people might do a little bit more towing. Got some vultures coming out here. Rivian people might do a bit more towing than most because they're a little bit more utilitarian vehicles in a sense, but so far, once you're hooked up, I see no issue using this as a working vehicle, and especially as Lucid launches in Europe, I think a lot more people are open to towing with a large variety of cars out there. Now, I'm pretty hard on the brake pedal here, standing on the brake pedal, and I actually see no trailer brake gain pop up there at all. Now, that's a little bit disconcerting. I can feel when I pull the lever down that it is activating the trailer brakes, but my gauge to show trailer brakes has gone away. So that's another software bug to add to the list of infuriating software issues here in the Lucid Gravity. Wow, it's definitely doing some acceleration compensation for the extra weight. So much to get into and play around with. I'm actually going to take back roads for one exit just to get used to this, make sure it feels safe before we jump right onto I-95 with this whole situation. So what I was going to mention was the Lucid Grand Touring that we're in can tow 6,000 pounds. But if you get the Touring model, which comes with a smaller battery, which presumably weighs less, it has the same 600-pound tongue weight maximum. You would think it could tow more, but it can't. It actually can only tow 3,500 pounds. So if you want the max tow, you need to get the Grand Touring. I think you get the Grand Touring no matter what. That's where you get the 400 kilowatt charging and the range that's so nice to have. Like, I think to go for the Gravity, you got to get the big battery. That's my impression. And from a towing perspective, you got to get the big battery in order to get the big tow rating, which for me is super important because this is a trailer I use often. I also tow a car very often on my flat trailer, and so that's typically around 6,000 pounds, 7,000 pounds. So just having that big tow rating is super important for my use case of towing here. So battery's warmed up in this. We're cruising along. It feels very stable, very safe. I'm in not smooth, swift, or sprint. I'm actually in a specific tow mode, so I can't change any drive modes. And we're going to keep it in that mode. And what it feels like it's done is it's actually stiffened up the suspension a little bit to handle a little bit of the body motions. I actually feel a bit more road texture coming through, and that's what you want. When you're towing a heavy trailer like this, especially one that's just a brick of batteries, you just want stability. You care a little bit less about ride comfort, and you want it to be locked in. And that's something Rivian has done an amazing job of with the R1 platform, is just locking in that hydraulic roll stiffness in that car. It's awesome. Here in the Gravity, it feels like the adaptive dampers turned up a little bit, and it's handling the weight very nicely. Now I'm just going straight, cruising around, but I already have the confidence to just drive without thinking about it. It's really freaking awesome so far. So I'll catch up with you guys throughout the drive, but we're going to head first to the Halifax Supercharger, see what it's like to charge with a trailer in this car, and then we'll continue. One thing, I'm not going to do any crazy moves out here, but there is a trailer sway control built in. It will break the tow vehicle, it'll break the Gravity if things get out of sorts. So that's good to have just in the background. If something were to go crazy, there's a little bit of stability control, tow stability control with this car to reduce trailer sway. Lucid does not recommend using any sort of yaw damping trailers or any sort of weight distribution hitches, which I found interesting. They recommend only a typical ball hitch like this right here. As we're getting into our first stoplight, I'm going to regen here to a stop and just see how that feels. So giving quite a bit of regen And regen braking doesn't feel as strong with the trailer. Certain vehicles like Cybertruck will actually increase regen when you have a trailer hooked up to the vehicle. So that's something that is really cool that they're able to do. We've got a guy asking us, how's it going?
First time I've seen one of those. How much do they cost?
One of the cars?
No, the Charger.
The Chargers? I actually don't know.
Okay. All right.
You have a good one.
Uh-huh.
He was, he wanted to know how much the battery trailer costs from Charge Rigs. I genuinely don't know what they go for. They sent it to us for free. Thanks, Charge Rigs. Shout out. But you can buy them. So there's plenty of dealers that host them. So yeah, as I was mentioning, Cybertruck will increase the amount of regen to compensate for trailer weight. Here in the Lucid, it definitely is not doing that. It's just targeting its same profile, but it's still very strong regen in the Lucid, so it's more than enough to slow this thing down without having to mash on friction brakes. That's great for two things. As soon as you lift off the accelerator pedal, if something were to happen, you're already decelerating before you get your foot over to the brake. Again, you don't ever want to do harsh braking or any crazy movements when you're towing, so it's awesome that you can just get a nice smooth deceleration as soon as you lift off, but also efficiency. Really good to be able to recapture as much energy as possible, especially while towing, because electric cars, and especially those that are affected by small batteries and affected by big aero loads, we'll get into that, you just need as much energy recapture as possible. So let's talk energy and efficiency while towing, in theory. My buddy Robert Dunn did the best video on YouTube about this, and it just proves everything I've been telling you for years. I'm going to leave his video linked in the description below, where he towed with a Silverado and a Rivian. And the larger your tow vehicle is, so if you have a Silverado EV or Sierra or Hummer EV, and the less efficient your tow vehicle naturally is, so one of those big heavy electric trucks, the less towing will affect your overall range as a percentage. When you have a vehicle with a very small size, like the Gravity, the aero profile of the trailer sticking out, the weight is adding a huge load, and so percentage-wise, this car is going to be more affected by towing than if I was towing with a Rivian or Escalade IQ, for example. So that's just natural physics. This car is really affected by the aero profile of the trailer. And then you get into weight versus aero. A lot of people think that it's all about the weight. What is the range while towing 5,000 pounds? I get asked that a lot. And in fact, the weight only really matters in a hilly environment. When you're cruising on the highway, typically most places in America where there's not a ton of elevation, the aero profile of the trailer matters so much more to the range than the actual weight of the trailer. And so if you are towing a 5,000 pound trailer that's like a really slippery, looking trailer, it may affect your range significantly less than if you towed a empty trailer with just a wall. And Robert proved that in his video as well, and I've done other videos to show that. When Rivian first came out, I did a lot of tow testing videos to prove all those theories. So it's not about the weight, it's always about the aero profile of the trailer. And that is why I can't do a range test with the Gravity while towing. The only way I could do that is if I used a standard trailer, which is probably something we should look into doing and getting and setting up, just a standard box trailer, because that will actually show that having a really big electric vehicle like an F-150 Lightning or a Silverado or something like that is not only less affected by towing, but they have bigger batteries, which means you have more capacity. In the Gravity, Lucid chose to put the smallest battery possible to get the most amount of range. It's actually what their whole company is founded on. Efficiency and, watt hour per mile or mile per kilowatt hour consumption, and reducing all the unnecessary drag and load. And that's why this is such a small and low down vehicle with amazing packaging. And that works when conditions are nice, when you are driving on a warm day on the highway with no trailer on the back, or no snow, or no rain or sleet or whatever. As soon as the Gravity or any other really efficient EV gets adverse conditions, that would be whether it's a big temperature delta or major wind, or especially while towing when we're talking about SUVs and trucks, that efficiency goes out the window. We've now eliminated all of the work they went into to making this car efficient, and then what are we left with? We're left with a car with too small of a battery to get the towing job done. Now, what's nice about this Gravity is it is a 123 kilowatt hour battery pack, pretty much usable. So that's still a pretty sizable battery. So I'm not here to say they put too small of a battery in the Gravity, but if this was a pickup truck, it'd be too small of a battery. It would suffer from Cybertruck syndrome, where Tesla did the same thing with the Cybertruck, put too small of a battery in the Cybertruck, and then when I went to go tow with it and use it, the efficiency went out the window and I just had no range and poor charging. The Gravity will have decent range while towing, and I'll give you my estimates as to what I think it would do, depending on the trailer type. And it has really good charging, actually. So this is not the worst towing vehicle out there, and it might be one of the better SUVs for towing. Let's head over to the charging station because there's more to talk about, of course. But for now, we're going to jump onto the highway here in a minute, and I'll tell you what that's like, because that's going to be an interesting experience towing on the highway, with the Gravity. I just entered in the Tesla Halifax station, and it indicates 10% on arrival. Let's see how accurate that is. I wonder if the route planner will factor in the extra load that we're going to have on it from the trailer. That's going to be a really interesting test to see. So it says 10% on arrival. We'll see what we actually pull in there with. As we're coming into a pretty abrupt yellow into red light, I'm on the brakes, and my trailer brake indication has still gone away. I have no idea how much friction brakes it's sending back to the trailer with the trailer brakes. That's a real problem. You know, I have to mention the Lucid Gravity, while it's an amazing car, it drives wonderfully, it charges well, it's very spacious, and it's such a cool car. And honestly, every time I get behind the wheel, I truly love driving it. The software bugs and problems such as this, and a million others that I'll make a video about separately, really take away from the experience. Really does. And it's like, damn, they've got to get this car dialed in. They really have to, because it's so good. But then stuff like that, that's actually like a safety issue. Like, I need to know how much my trailer brake controller is sending to the trailer. I'm glad they put a trailer brake controller in the car, built in, with this as your manual override. But I just have no idea. It's also maybe a little bit awkward to use this as your override for trailer brake control, because that's your gear selector. So I guess it kind of works. But they also had the option to use this, which is a programmable steering wheel button that they could have used as a trailer brake controller. Rivian repurposes the right scroll wheel to do it. Tesla uses a rocking motion on their right scroll wheel. So it would have been natural for Lucid to make this button the trailer brake controller. However, it's possible it's a good thing they did not, because these buttons on the steering wheel also only work about 20% of the time. So you really got to get your position totally dialed in on the button for it to do anything. So maybe it is safer for it to be there for the brake controller. Speaking about efficiency, this is the first efficiency check-in. We've been doing about 12 miles around the city environment right now. And there's some action going on over here. I'm not sure, some traffic situation. Everyone's yelling at each other, but that's just what you get in Roanoke Rapids, North Carolina. Efficiency check-in, just driving normally between 0 and 55 miles an hour, about 1.43 miles per kilowatt hour. Let's just call it 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. And now we're merging onto the highway for the first time. I'm also going to reset our trip computer getting onto the highway, because I'd be curious about our highway efficiency in comparison to the city. So about 1.5 miles per kilowatt hour. That is where trailer weight does come into play. But again, we had plenty of regen to help us. Now, getting up to speed, I've selected basically one accelerator pedal position, and I can feel the Lucid software adding power to compensate for the weight of the trailer. So unlike regen, when I put my foot on the accelerator pedal, it's like, whoa, we are extra weight. Let's give you a little bit more. So here we are cruising 75 miles an hour. It's indicating 76. That's 75 GPS. I'm going to see if cruise control works. Oh no. It says drive assist unavailable. We knew there was going to be features that were limited, but I am not understanding why our cruise control wouldn't work. Let me see if I can just select adaptive cruise control. No, it just says unavailable. So there's no cruise control while towing, and that's, at least go to dumb cruise control. So Rivian also doesn't like to do adaptive cruise control or lane setting or anything while towing, but it will just go to dumb cruise control and just hold the speed. That could get real frustrating if you're towing on a long trip with this car. So I really hope Lucid adjusts this as soon as possible, because you need cruise control while you're on the highway. Like, that's just a basic amenity to have. What I'm trying to think what others do. Tesla will allow adaptive cruise control, but not FSD. You can hack it to do FSD while towing, though, I think, at least. Or at least basic autopilot in Model X. I know I used to do that all the time. And then Ford is the best. Ford actually does lane centering while towing in the F-150 Lightning. So shout out to Ford. They really have some great towing tech in that truck. It gets overlooked and it's underappreciated. Let's go for a pass here. I absolutely love the digital side view mirror that pops up on the screen in conjunction with my physical one. Although you can see my blind spot warning just went off there. There's no one in my blind spot. So there needs to be a trailer specific blind spot mode that the Gravity goes into as well, which is something tow mode should activate. But the stability on the highway, we're right next to a truck. I've got a very tall trailer that picks up the wind very often. It's feeling very stable out here on the highway with no complaints from my side about the stability and smoothness. It's really awesome. And if I click my, we'll stay here in the left lane for a minute, but I do like that I can pull up my turn signal and see right there instantly the image of the semi that's right next to me. Yeah, so cruising in this thing on the highway, wow, I am truly impressed with the stability. I've towed with Model X, and maybe I'll even tow this same trailer with the new generation Model X, but I can talk about the previous generation Model X. Never gave me the confidence of towing like this does. I would say it's somewhere, it's definitely like right up there with Rivian confidence while towing, and I hold Rivian as one of the best towing vehicles in terms of what it feels like behind the wheel. I'm actually going faster than I want to go. I really don't want to go more than 75 miles an hour with this trailer, just because that's the trailer tire rating. Of course it can handle it, but wow, this is a nice vehicle to tow with. Passing trucks right in the wash, and it is feeling absolutely awesome. We're down to 10% state of charge right now. This is what the Gravity expected we would get to the charging station with, but of course it seems to be pretty accurate, because it's back to showing 10% on arrival again. It's a very short distance, and we would require towing over a long distance to see if this calibrates, but I definitely know that it did a great job, because we're at 10% and we're going to be getting here at 10%. So let's see what our initial trip looks like. 1 mile per kilowatt hour, which means we would have, if we went 100% to well below zero, because there's a huge bottom buffer on the Gravity, we would have about 120 miles of driving, because there'd be a little bit more heat loss with this. Let's just call it, safety wise, 100 miles towing on the highway with this trailer in these conditions at 75 miles an hour. Now, of course, you could drop the speed and make the efficiency better. And are you kidding me? Someone who's not towing is using the trailer spot. That is such a bummer. But hopefully they'll move. I'm going to pull up behind them and just wait. Oh no, I also lost my GoPro. That's such a shame. I hope I can find it. It fell off the trailer. Hopefully it's here. So I'll pull up in the trailer tow spot and see if the Lyric folks are able to maybe move to another stall when they're done charging. So we'll see how this goes. We'll just wait for them to finish up. These folks are being super kind and moving their Lyric out of the way for us. They didn't realize it was a trailer spot. It's their first long distance trip, and they want to buy a Gravity actually, so I let them check it out off camera, of course. And they were like, hell yeah, this thing's sick. I'm like, yeah, wait till they fix the software bugs. Thanks so much for doing that. Just super cool. Just didn't realize it was the tow trailer spot, which is fine. It's not actually marked at this location, I don't think. And they didn't have to move. Oh, my trailer brake indication is back up and working. Now, one thing I'd love to have access to is the ability to pull my cameras up real quick, and I can, so that's awesome. And this shows a great overview of everything right here. So now I'm gonna pull up because it's a rear charge port. My complaints are coming. Let's get it plugged in and charging. Freaking awesome. So we have arrived to the pull-through spot. Now, we are super lucky that right next to the out-of-spec track is a 60-stall Tesla supercharger, which is just amazing. Lucid Gravity, plug and charge, of course, with like a 9-second handshake. It's pretty much the Tesla charging experience. You know, you can see here, preparing to charge. I'm impressed the route planner was dialed in and we're charging. That's how quick it is. Freaking awesome. It can do 225 kilowatts at Tesla superchargers using that rear motor boosting power. So I'm going to give it a pretty long session of boosting on the motor, and then we're going to jump right out on the highway. I've got to go out afterwards and find my GoPro that fell off. I really hope it didn't damage anyone. I made sure this thing was like extra locked down, but if I was super smart, I would have actually tied a little safety rope up to that right there. So we are charging up the Gravity, and here's the problem. We have the one trailer spot here at this site, and there's a rear charge port. Now, I think this is probably the correct compromise. Again, Lucid says no compromises. Everything's a compromise. This is probably the correct compromise for an SUV. But if they were to make a pickup truck, or if anyone's making an electric pickup truck, you need a front charging port. I drove across, I guess the Lyric left, they probably had enough juice to go. But having a front charging port makes all the difference towing with an electric vehicle. There's a video on our out-of-spec motoring channel where I drove across the country from Colorado to here in North Carolina, and I did not have to unhook my trailer once because I had a front charging port. Now, if you get a Silverado or a Sierra with the big 24 module pack for towing, that's great. But you have a rear charging port, and it makes recharging a massive pain unless you have stations like this that are the pull-throughs. So I'm really happy that we have this station here. We're super lucky, but keep in mind, this is very much not the norm when towing with an electric vehicle. If you're gonna tow with the Gravity and you have to recharge, many of them, oh, I guess they went over there, are like these stations here where you're going to have to unhook, especially if it's a busy site. And yep, and back in. There's just no way around it. It's an unfortunate reality. Cybertruck deals with it. Model X, EV9, pretty much almost every electric vehicle has a rear charge port. Just sucks while towing. And we're ripping along 220 kilowatts or so. So I'll charge until, I don't know, whenever it tapers or whenever I decide to leave. And we'll rip it onto the highway and see if there's any performance issues. I doubt it, but could be fun to try. If you're curious why I want to test this, one, because we can and it's cool. But the reason that I think this is actually a test is the Lucid has to use the rear motor to boost up the voltage from the roughly 450 volts the supercharger's giving it to the roughly 850, 900 volts of the battery pack. And to do that, it basically uses the windings of the stator plus the inverter pushing really hard, running 200 kilowatts, and it can get the motor in the rear inverter pretty warm. It runs the oil pump flat out back there and runs cooling as hard as it can, and typically you never run into thermal issues. It's absolutely amazing how robust this system is in practice, because my buddy just drove 2,000 miles in the Eastern Edge, didn't have any problems with this. So that was really great. No derates, nothing crazy. That was impressive. But now to do that and then to just put a lot of load on it to get on the highway towing, let's go see how that works. I don't know. I'm guessing it'll be fine, but I think it's time to unplug. We're doing around 200 kilowatts at 50% or so, plus or minus. Mostly minus on both of those numbers, actually. But hey, we're close enough. Let's just give it the benefit of the doubt. Battery was a little cold before we plugged in. Man, it absolutely rips on charging, even on superchargers. I mean, not much benefit to go charging Gravity at high voltage stations, especially when you can plug into a supercharger, not unhook, and juice it up right here. Absolutely great. So let's run back to the track and see how it does on the highway, and then we'll end with our final thoughts. But we are finished up with charging. We'll throw that right back in there, and off we go. We are heading out of the supercharger now, and we've got rear steer working with us. The mirrors are too small, that's one thing, but I guess I could always hit the turn signal and keep an eye on what's happening with the trailer back there as well. Fun trick. Kia has access to the supercharger network now, but those folks are not doing it. Looks like the Lyric finished up right around the same time we did, so they're heading out of here, and we are doing the same. I'm keeping an eye out for my GoPro that fell off. That's a real problem. So, whoops. Don't know what to say about that. That's why I normally don't do many fancy camera angles. Amateur YouTuber over here. And we're going to just rip it onto the highway and see how the acceleration feels. Now again, tow mode doesn't let us choose smooth, swift, or sprint. So I genuinely have no idea how much power the car has in tow mode because your power output changes based off those modes. I'm going to guess it's limited to 500-600 horsepower instead of the 800 plus that this thing should have. But we'll keep an eye on it and see if... see if it feels slow or fast or what, because we're going to essentially come to a stop on the on-ramp right here. No one's around. Let me get us straightened out. Will it go into launch mode? That would be interesting. Left foot hard on the brake, flooring with the right. Launch mode unavailable. Must be in sprint mode. So I'm just going to floor it. So here we go. Giving it everything. I can feel it struggling. It's pushing. Should say pulling. Oh, 50 miles an hour. It's ripping. Damn. As soon as we hit 50 miles an hour, it gave us all the power. You can hear the inverters pushing. That felt awesome. That is max tow, 0 to 60, slight downhill. Amazing performance. I mean, even here at, we'll just bring it down to 65 miles an hour. I'm going to roll into it. Whoa! So much power. Now your efficiency is going to be terrible if you do that, and so I think we can safely say the rear motor's plenty fine after doing the boost session as well. So it feels like a fairly robust charging system here. Yeah, very, very impressed with the thermal management of the Gravity's motor, rear motor. That's really good. So let's go cruise back to the track, and I'll share my final thoughts on just towing with this. But man, I've towed this trailer with so many different vehicles now, and this tows it just as well in terms of the stability of cruising on the highway. This is certainly something great. Just needs cruise control. We are now pulling off the highway back at the out-of-spec track. It was a 13-mile trip from when I last reset it for the highway portion. And yeah, just over 1 mile per kilowatt hour at 75 miles an hour. Just that's basically what it does with this brick of a trailer. That's about what to expect with these cars. I mean, I really think this is just a safe 100-mile vehicle with a normal box trailer on the back. And you can always dial in your speed that will drastically affect your towing range. So when people are always like, how far does it tow? It's always, what are you towing and how fast are you planning on driving? And the third question should be the weight. So shape, speed, weight. Those are the, basically that's the way I would think about it in order of importance. The blind spot monitor is going crazy because we're hooked up to the trailer. So maybe they need to disable that, and they need to add in basic cruise control ASAP. My trailer brake controller is still showing on the screen, so the software is not glitched on that front, which is great. Really a nice experience towing with the Gravity. Wow, this thing's really set up for just cruising with a trailer, and the recharging ability is amazing as long as you can find pull-through stations. So we're almost back at the track. We'll get in there and I'll finish with some finalized thoughts with you guys. I don't have a remote to open the gate in this car, so I got out to open it manually, and the fans are screaming on this thing. So the cooling fans are ripping right now, and I just have normal HVAC load going. So that's something interesting. But oh, please go into drive. Thank you. That's always a scary moment. Editor Kyle from the future, I'm just looking at that clip. Does it not look like the fins are closed on this thing? It looks like the active aero flaps or whatever, you know, the cooling flaps are closed, but the fans are running wide open. You'd think they would open that up to get more airflow. Maybe another bug. Well, there you go, guys. That was towing with the Lucid Gravity. No scientific test, just a fun little video to try it out. And there's some good and there's some bad. So let's start with the good. Well, the stability while towing was amazing. You know, once you get the trailer hitch lined up, and you really do need quite a lift on the hitch because this is a low vehicle. This is more like a wagon or minivan height in the rear than a SUV like the Rivian is. Similar to Model X height in the rear. So, you know, once you get the correct rise for your ball, you get the trailer loaded up, and you really need a big one, because I actually would want to go slightly higher than I currently have it right now, and mine's maxed out all the way up. Shout out to WasteSafe, by the way. So once you get that dialed in, whoa, the stability while towing, the rear steer, super cool, absolutely loved that. The other upsides would be the performance while towing. Having regen and all the power on tap is absolutely amazing for just getting up to speed while cruising around. So really loved it. I was so impressed with the performance, and I really think that tow mode gives you a lot more power than even the standard key up setting, which is smooth mode. But I could be wrong, just feels really fast, way more than you would need for towing, so that's good. And then, you know, it seems like they've tried a little bit with the software in the car to make the tow settings and features make sense. I'm really happy it has an integrated trailer brake controller and trailer sway control, and it limits your speed, and there's supposed to be a, you know, rear accessory mode where you can say I've got an accessory in the back, and then it adjusts your parking sensor distances so it doesn't, like, you know, it yells at you sooner, I guess, because it knows your car is extended in length. I don't know if any of that stuff really works, and I didn't really find any settings in there for it, and I couldn't find a way to manually activate tow mode, although it might be in there. As soon as I plugged the 7-pin connection in, though, boom, the car was locked in the mode. But clearly there's still some issues. So it's still unclear to me if Route Planner is factoring in the worse efficiency of towing. I think it is. I've been really impressed with the Route Planner's guesstimate in terms of predicting your arrival state of charge. That has worked really well, and unlike the Lucid Air that shows you your arrival in miles, which is stupid, this shows your arrival in state of charge in percentage, which is the way I think, as you can tell. Really, really nice. Another downside while towing, I guess really, you know, just the software bugs. Wouldn't show trailer brake controller, blind spot monitor was going off, and I don't know if we encountered any other bugs, but that was it. And then the major problem for towing is the rear charge port. Again, that's something that Rivian really got right by having the front charge port on the R1s, and this one being in the rear. I think it's fine for most drivers. It interfaces nicely with the Supercharger network being in the rear passenger or rear driver side. It just isn't perfect for towing, but again, this isn't meant to be like a tow everyday type of vehicle. So it's a downside for towing, but I wouldn't say it's a downside for the car. Damn, yeah, towing with the Gravity. Probably something no one has really done yet. I'm glad I had the opportunity to do this and try it out. There needs to be another round of software improvements in terms of the towing specific features. Would love to see a little bit more there. Really love having rear steer while towing. It just makes the car feel so agile and so fun to maneuver with the trailer. The side view mirrors are a real downside. That's quite a big mirror with very small glass area, so that needs a rework, and they need to just put what Volvo does on that side. But I could go on and on. You guys joined me for the experience, and what fun it was to go towing with the Lucid Gravity Grand Touring. Don't forget that if you get the Touring, your towing capacity is reduced massively. It's only 3,500 pounds max tow with the Touring. Get the Grand Touring, you get the faster charging, the big battery, and the extra towing capability. That's my impression, but if you're just cruising around town, the Touring should be plenty fine as well. So there you go, towing with the Lucid Gravity. Let me know if you want me to do more of these. Again, not a scientific test or anything, just going out, having fun, and towing trailers. Thanks for watching. See you in another one again soon. Bye-bye. I just went to cancel trailer mode, and it says trailer hitch attached. Tap yes to enable trailer hitch optimization, so your vehicle can account for the additional length while parking. I couldn't find this pop up anywhere else, but the answer is yes, I'll do that. And that's smart from a trailer hitch perspective. Really good idea, Lucid. So let's try that additional trailer hitch backing up function. So you can see I've got the hitch in there. We'll use the Model X as a demo. And you can clearly see it's accounting for maybe nothing. I don't know. It says 10 inches, right? Let's go out and look. It says 9 inches. Let's see. Is that 9 inches? Oh, yeah. That's pretty good. Cool feature. No freaking way. I found the GoPro. Yes, right here. And it's still recording. Yeah. Damn, this thing's freaking awesome. I mean, the mount is beat, but that worked out great. Okay, let's get out of this situation.